When you start to approach life from the energy of flow versus force, it is going to radically transform your manifestations and the way that you are attracting things into your life. And that's why on today's podcast episode, we are going to be talking about the difference of you forcing your manifestations versus flowing with them and flowing with the energy of your life. What's up, and welcome to the No Bullshit Manifestation Show, the podcast that demystifies all of the nonsense that surrounds manifestation and gives you a realistic view of what it's like to be on a personal, professional, and spiritual growth journey. I'm your host, Kat Kozad, manifestation and money mindset expert, and I'm so happy you're here. Let's fucking do this thing. This has hands down been one of the biggest game changers for me when it's come to manifestation, my life, and just how I feel on a day-to-day basis. And for that reason, I wanted to talk about it here on today's podcast episode, which is the difference between forcing your manifestations and flowing with your manifestations. Because this is one of the biggest things that I see in social media, Instagram, TikTok, whatnot, when we're talking about manifestation and calling what you desire into your reality, is that majority of it is coming from the energy of force. And with that energy of force, it's then reaffirming old patterns and limiting beliefs that are holding you in the same position that you're trying to break out of, and not allowing this natural progression of ease and flow to come into your life and help support you within your manifestation. So on today's podcast episode, I am going to be talking about my own personal experience with when I used to force my manifestations versus now in a flow with my manifestations, and also what were the major shifts, the 3 major shifts that allowed me to get to a place of being in flow, and how you can start to create that shift in your life so that you're not constantly forcing and manipulating your manifestations into your life, and you're really in this divine abundant flow with your energy and with the universe. But before we dive into that, I want to let you all know that enrollment for the Abundant AF Babe Academy, which is my signature online manifestation program designed to help you attract and manifest more money, freedom, and fulfillment in your life, is finally open. And this is the program for you if you are ready to learn how to actually implement intentional manifestation into your life. That is not only going to help you manifest what you want now, but help you manifest what you want in the big picture. Long term, have it be something that's sustainable and something that you know how to work with for the rest of your life, so that you are able to manifest all of your heart's desires and have your one and only life be the most intentional and fulfilling thing that you have ever done. And there are only 25 spots available in this round of the Academy. Since enrollment opened on Monday, 5 of those spots have already been claimed. So there are currently 20 spots. I can guarantee you they are going to fill up. So enrollment closes on June 18th, or when those 25 spots fill up, whichever comes first. So if you've been on the fence, if you've been thinking about it, if this is the first time you've ever heard about it, but you intuitively know that this is the thing for you, you want to click the link down below in the show notes to claim your spot inside of the Abundant AF Babe Academy ASAP. And this is also the last round of the Abundant AF Babe Academy that you will have 10 full weeks of group coaching and direct support from me. After this round, there will still be group coaching and there will still be access to me, but it's not going to be as much or as intense. So this is the most opportune time to join the Abundant AF Babe Academy. So you can, like I said, go down below to the show notes, click on the link, and join directly from the webpage. And with that being said, I am super excited to dive into today's topic because it is something that I think is going to absolutely transform your life when you can really put this into play and put this into practice to get in flow with the rhythm of your life and get in flow with the rhythm of your manifestations versus constantly trying to force your way into receiving the things that you desire. And to kick this off, I want to talk about a personal example from my life back when I was forcing my manifestations into my life. Because, quick little tangent, you absolutely can force your manifestations into your life. You can force and hustle and girl boss it up to make those things happen in your life. But I can also almost guarantee that that is going to come with burnout and with frustration and feelings of hard work and constantly having to fight this uphill battle in order to get what you want. And I don't know about you, but for me, that does not sound attractive anymore. That does not sound appealing. That does not sound like something that I'm available for. And being able to shift into an operating system of flowing with my manifestations has changed the game for this. But full honesty and full transparency, first year or so of being in my intentional manifestation journey, I was in this energy of force. I was in this energy of feeling as though the only way my manifestations could show up was if I was to force and work hard and really try to control and manipulate my manifestations as much as humanly possible. So for me, this really took place in my first year of business and manifesting money into my life. I would force my manifestations with hard work. I would work from like 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, or 6 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, and constantly feel as though I needed to be working, I needed to be hustling, I needed to be doing more in order to receive my manifestations. And as I did that, it continued to reaffirm all of the limiting beliefs that I had about needing to work hard in order to receive what I wanted, and money being something that was a struggle, that the only way to get on top was to work harder than everybody else, so on and so forth. So many of these like big societal limiting beliefs and conditionings and programmings that were given surrounding work and money. I just continue to reaffirm those things to myself over and over again, because while yes, I wanted the manifestation, I wanted the money, I wanted the success, I wanted all of the big, beautiful, shiny things that came along with having that successful coaching business, I also wasn't giving myself the space or the trust to allow the universe to come in and really meet me halfway within all of it. I was just depending on these old, outdated belief systems that, again, kind of lead us into these patterns of burnout, or feeling as though you're always on this uphill battle towards what you're wanting to create in your life, that we've seen so many quote unquote successful figures in our society use as their operating system for years and years and years. And like I said earlier, this is a way that you can operate. When you are wanting something, you can go force and hustle and grind and make it happen. You absolutely can do that. And I will tell you that if this is something that you're wanting to be in for the long haul, whether it be business or a relationship or upping your finances or whatever it may be, that is not sustainable. What gets you to a certain level of success isn't going to continue to elevate you and continue to push you further and further if that is your operating system, because you will reach some level of burnout inside of it and not be able to continue on that way anymore. And that was the reality for me. After my first 10 months of being in business, if you haven't listened to the podcast, this is part of my story, that I hit my first $100,000 in business within my first 10 months. And at that first $100,000, I thought it was going to be like this big, beautiful thing that took away so many of the problems that I was experiencing and so many of the insecurities that I had, and I was finally going to feel safe. And I got to that first $100,000 and nothing changed. And if anything, my insecurities and the things that were troubling me were only amplified because I thought that this external thing, I thought that this money was going to alleviate me from those things. And that's where I hit a wall, where I hit a stage of burnout, where literally for 3 months, basically the only thing I could really get myself to do was get up and go into the kitchen and make some food. It was usually not even make food, but like warm up something in the microwave and put on Netflix and respond to some client messages and take some client calls. But other than that, I literally did nothing. And luckily that was during the pandemic, so I didn't feel that guilty for not doing much. But I hit this 3-month burnout period because I had been forcing everything in my life, forcing my manifestations, forcing the cash flow, and it wasn't sustainable for me to continue on in that way. And so over the past almost 3 years since that point, I've made it my number one priority and my number one goal to be able to detach from the need to have those manifestations in my life and really step into a place of trust and belief in the fact that it is going to happen regardless. So that's what we're going to be diving into. That's what we're really going to be talking about, is how to detach from your manifestations, let go. A lot of the times in the world of manifestation, you'll hear the concept of like, let it go, and people will be like, yeah, just forget about it and like, don't do anything with it. But true detachment isn't just like, oh yeah, like don't care, not going to think about it, just going to let it go and hope the universe brings it into my life. True detachment is being able to know that it is something that you desire in your life and you inevitably believe you are capable of having and are going to have, be, or do at some point, but you don't have the obsession or the desperation or that really clingy energy that is making it harder and harder to actually attract and manifest it into your life. And like I've mentioned a few times now, I operate in the energy of flow and trust and belief in myself and in my manifestation so deeply now that I don't consciously and intentionally always put my effort and focus into, okay, this is what I want to manifest. If I do X, then Y, then I will get Z. Whatever it may be that a lot of these manifestation methods and a lot of teachers are trying to tell you to do, because I believe so deeply in the fact that when you are in a state of flow and you are connected to your body and you are connected to your belief and your energy, then you are able to just naturally call those things into existence without always putting so much energy and focus into it. Because let's be honest, we're all human. We all have a lot of shit going on, and that would just be exhausting. But how did I do this? How did I go from the place of constantly forcing my manifestations and manipulating different things in my life to make those manifestations show up to now being in a state of flow and trust with myself and with the universe? I personally accredit this to 3 different things, and we're going to be diving into those 3 things. But I will also say, in addition to this, that the number one thing that I think has really put me in the position that I am in now is my willingness to face the discomfort while still being committed to my goals and to what I desire in my life. And I'm going to say that one more time. In addition to these 3 things that I'm going to talk about, my willingness to be uncomfortable and welcome in the discomfort and the things that I would rather resist in my life while still being committed to my desires has allowed me to do so much of what I have done over the past few years to create this big, beautiful life of my dreams, is my willingness to get uncomfortable at the end of the day. Because if you're not willing to get uncomfortable, nothing is going to change in your life. You have to be willing to meet your discomfort and move through it as opposed to run away from it or try to avoid it altogether. That will not create any sort of change in your life. And in order for you to have things that you've never had, do things that you've never done, live a life that is something that is greater than what you have right now, it is going to require you to change in some sort of capacity. And that change is always going to feel uncomfortable. So getting okay with the discomfort is going to be such a game changer in your manifestations and in these 3 things that we're going to be talking about. So with that being said, first one is becoming so okay with myself and with my life as it was. And I know that this may sound counterintuitive to a lot of you because when going on a manifestation journey, it's typically because you are unfulfilled with some level of your life in whatever capacity. But the acceptance of your life as it is right now and yourself as you are right now is the key to being able to detach from the need and from the desperation for things to change. Because again, going back to what we were talking about earlier with forcing things, that force is typically coming from a desperate energy. Force is coming from the energy of lack. It's coming from distrust. It's coming from scarcity. It is coming from a strong attachment for things to be different than the way that they actually are. But when you can accept yourself and your life as you are right now, you loosen the grip on force. You loosen your grip on control. You loosen the grip on that attachment. And what I want you to actually visualize with this is when you are forcing something, it's essentially like holding on as tightly as you possibly can to wanting and needing that change. And when you are tightly grasping onto that thing, your palms are closed, you're clenching, you're tense. But when you start to accept who you are and where you're at right now, it allows you to open your palms up and release that thing that you are so tightly grasping onto, which leaves you with open hands to catch what the universe is actually trying to give to you. So again, may sound counterintuitive to let go of the need that you need to change or do things differently or force or hustle or grind or whatever it may be. But in being able to slow yourself down and release the attachment that you have to that desire to change or your desire for your manifestation to show up in your life, that allows you to open your palms back up and create that level of separation for you to fill the space with what the universe is actually trying to present you with, which majority of the time is going to be your manifestation or the different people, opportunities, things, circumstances that are necessary in order for you to follow and then receive your manifestation or something greater as a byproduct of that. And I think that this can oftentimes be the step that confuses people the most or people have the most resistance to, because we're so conditioned to believe like if you want something, then you must go get it. You must pursue it in a very linear way. And if you don't pursue it in that linear way, then you're not going to get it. When in reality, being able to create space for yourself and trust in the fact that whatever path you're being taken down or whatever intuitive pull you're getting, or that the closer you get to your body and your belief system and yourself, that you are naturally going to be led to that place, doesn't make sense to the human mind because there's no level of efficiency that is proven with it. But again, like I said earlier, what has gotten you to this point or what gets you to a certain level of success is not going to be the thing that continues to allow you to skyrocket and get more and more of what you want in your life, because it's typically going to lead you into these patterns of burnout versus creating a sustainable model that absolutely is efficient but is going to feel counterintuitive like I'm talking about. That's where being able to be okay with being uncomfortable comes into place. I know that was a weird little tongue twister there, but being okay with being uncomfortable, being okay with the fact that you are experimenting, you are playing, you are dancing in the space that you would typically try to fill with hustling and grinding and forcing and manipulating your manifestations into your life, and really leaving that empty space for the universe to show up and support you within it. So that is the first one. Second thing has been cultivating deep trust inside of myself and in the universe that best case scenario is the inevitable for my life. So one of the things that I've done since the beginning of my manifestation journey is remind myself of on a daily basis that my faith is greater than my fears. Because when I first started my intentional manifestation journey, that was not true whatsoever. My fear was exponentially louder and exponentially greater than my faith. But one of the things that I've said on this podcast, and I say to my clients, and I will say time and time again, is that faith is a muscle and it can only be built when pressure is applied. A lot of people will walk into situations and feel as though if they don't naturally have the innate faith to go forward with it, then they are not capable of it. And what I have to say about those situations is the fact that your faith is probably not innately there. Your faith must be built. And that faith is built when you put yourself in situations that it would be easier to walk away from or it'd be easier to avoid in the first place. And literally allowing the universe, again, and yourself to navigate that situation and use it as evidence of the fact that you can trust in yourself. And so going back to believing in the fact that best case scenario is the inevitable for your life, this requires you to, again, play and get curious and experiment in this unknown territory, in this uncomfortable territory that to your logical or practical mind or to other people may not make sense. And I want to put this into an example so that you guys have kind of like an idea of it. So again, instead of forcing your manifestations or taking it to my personal example of forcing my manifestations in my business for the first year of business to where I'm at now, is that where I used to fill my schedule and fill my time, like I go back and look at my calendar and it like blows me away at how I used to fill literally every waking moment of my calendar and of my time. Because at that time, that was my belief of what I needed to do in order to create success and in order to manifest what I wanted into my life based off of old programming and old conditioning. But literally like taking that visual of a calendar that is filled from the moment that I woke up to the moment that I went to bed, there was no space. There was no space for faith to take place. There was no space for the universe to come in and support me within all of that because I was laying out the plan and laying out the structure of how I thought everything was supposed to go. And being able to cultivate this deep trust inside of myself looked like me removing so much of that from my schedule, removing so many of the things that I, at that time, was saying I need to do this in order to get the result that I wanted, and creating that space and sitting in the tension and the discomfort of not constantly working and moving and pursuing something actively in the way that I once had, to be able to rewrite and reprogram the belief that I had around the fact that I didn't have to operate in that way in order for me to get what I wanted, because no matter how I operated, best case scenario got to be the inevitable for my life and is the inevitable for my life. So that is one example of how this can look. And for you, it might look completely different. You may resonate with me and be like, wow, okay, I see that and I hear that for myself of I'm so busy, I'm so overscheduled, I am constantly hustling and grinding to make my dreams a reality, and I need to incorporate that space. But maybe you don't resonate with that, and maybe you recognize that you have so much space, and the thing that actually brings you the discomfort is putting more structure into place. And therefore, the thing that you can do to create that faith in yourself and start to create that faith in the universe is listen to what inspired action, what steps are being presented to you and putting those things into place and operating in that way, because that's going to help you build that strength, that muscle with your faith in believing that you are capable of manifesting what you want into your life, and that best case scenario does get to be the inevitable. But it ultimately comes down to what your personal experience is within this and trusting that. And that's, again, where this full faith comes into place, is where you know, because let's be honest, we all know. And anytime we say we don't know, we're just protecting ourselves subconsciously. That is literally something called a subconscious protector. When you say you don't know the answer to something, or you don't know the right step to take, or you don't know X, Y, and Z, yes, you do. You do know the answer. It's just a matter of being super fucking honest with yourself and then honoring that and trusting yourself to take action on it. Whether that be creating the space or implementing more things in, or whatever it may be, trust yourself on it and do that, because it may feel uncomfortable at first, but it's going to help you create that faith, build that muscle inside of yourself, and move closer and closer to the place where you can truly just say that best case scenario is the inevitable for my life. And then third, which ties into that, is that once I was able to establish this faith and trust inside of myself, I knew that then anything that played out in my life, anything that was happening, anything that was going on, was a byproduct of the belief that best case scenario is the inevitable for my life. And therefore, I could detach from having to have my manifestations look a certain way, or believe that my life had to look a certain way in order for me to be in that place. So I'm going to break that down in a different way, because that may be a little bit confusing. But essentially what I mean by this is that a lot of the times when manifesting the life that we desire for ourselves, we are told to give ourselves a image, a picture, a visualization of what the end destination is supposed to look like. And I think that a lot of the times this can actually be so much more detrimental to your manifestations than helpful to your manifestations, because then if things don't turn out looking that way, you think that you're not good at manifesting, or you think that you failed, or you think that you've done something wrong, or whatever it may be, which just is a bunch of bullshit and is one of my least favorite things about the world of manifestation, is that like there's this belief that if you don't get things the way that you think they're supposed to go, then that means that you've done something wrong. That is not fucking true. What is true is the fact that if you can cultivate the belief inside of yourself that best case scenario is the inevitable for your life, then you can trust that anything that comes after that, whether it be a challenge, whether it be a new idea, a new path, a circumstance, manifestation that you never thought would ever happen or come into your life, that all of those things are a byproduct of you believing in that. And that it may not look the way that you think it's going to. It doesn't have to look the way that you think it's going to. And when you can detach from the need for it to look a certain way, that's actually going to help you just live a more happy, healthy, wealthy, fulfilling life. When you're so attached to things needing to look a certain way, or you to have a certain thing, or be in a certain role, or make a certain impact, or whatever it may be, that could be holding you back from actually receiving what it is that you are here for in the first place. And when you can remain open and not be all tied up in it needing to look a certain way or be a certain way in order for you to feel okay about yourself and about your life, then that is where you are in this flow. That is where you are in the energy of trust. That is where you are in the energy of intuition. And this is where the feminine energy thrives. And I'm not talking about the feminine energy in the way of like being a female and being feminine. the feminine energy as in the essence that we all have, whether you are a man, woman, or gender non-conforming. We all have this energy inside of ourselves, and this is the most potent and powerful energy that we can possess for our manifestations. But when you are in the energy of force and attachment and desperation and clinging and needing and controlling your manifestations, that is being so hyper masculine. And I don't mean masculine like a man. I mean it in the way of the masculine energy, that it doesn't leave space for the feminine to come in, take place, and really support you inside of your manifestations. And again, this is what I teach inside of the Abundant AF Babe Academy. Everything that we've talked about inside of this podcast episode is what I teach inside of the Abundant AF Babe Academy to help you get to a place where you are naturally manifesting what you desire into your life without constantly feeling as though you're having to journal or say your affirmations or meditate or do any of these different quote unquote manifestation methods or techniques that you see online and you think are necessary for you to manifest the life of your dreams. Those things are incredible tools, but they're not the actual thing that is going to manifest that reality. And if you are wanting the actual steps and process and thing that is going to help you get to a place where you are naturally manifesting what you want from this point moving forward and are able to have the space inside of yourself to receive it and also know how to sustain it moving forward, then you are going to want to join this round of the Abundant AF Babe Academy. So, like I said, the link is down below in the show notes to join this round. And that is all that I have for you on today's podcast episode. So if this has resonated with you, definitely join the Academy. And I'm so excited for everybody who's already come on board. If anybody has any questions whatsoever, let me know. You can hit me up on Instagram. And I'm sending you all of my love. I will chat with you on the next podcast episode.